So, uh, good morning to all of you. In the last class, we have discussed why the study of environmental science is essential. With the help of 4 5 anecdotes, we have tried to understand the use of knowledge about the environment and environmental science and how it helps in our daily life. So that's why it must be clear to all that some knowledge of environment and environmental science and the science that is lying behind that is very important. So this environmental science is a multidisciplinary science. It is not only restricted to biology, botany, geology, but all other aspects including chemistry, physics, or it can be mathematics, because we use all these things, the knowledge from the different branches of science, in understanding the environment. Not only the natural sciences, even the social sciences also play an important role in this understanding the principles that are lying behind the uh, environment, especially the economics, because economics and environmental science has a close relation. Environmental science, we also call it as ecology. Eco means home, logy means study. uh, Eco means home, nomi means again management. So one way it is the study of the nature, and on the other way it is the management of the nature. So that's why this environmental science is a very complex, and not only complex, it has contribution from almost all branches of the it has all branches of the science and natural resources. Uh, so that's why the environmental science is a multidisciplinary approach. Now, already the scope, importance, and other things I have also discussed in the last class, and Pooja madam must have discussed little bit about that. So that's why, without wasting time, by discussing the same thing which has been already discussed, I would like to move on to the chapters that has been prescribed for your syllabus. So the one of the important chapter that I am going to discuss with you, only two chapters I am going to discuss with you. One is the natural resources, and the another one is the uh, one is the natural resources, and another one is the biodiversity. So first, I will start with the natural resources. So all of you are familiar what exactly meant by a natural resource. Natural resources are the resources which are found in the nature. So they are the resources formed by the nature or found in the nature, and they. So the students, please mute your microphone. Please mute your microphone. I am hearing lot of noises. It will disturb not only me, to the other participants also. So the natural resources are the resources. ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದಿಲ್ವಾ? ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಫೋನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ನೋಡುವ. So the natural resources are the resources that are actually found in the nature, and the nature has formed this, and we human beings have not contributed anything in the formation of these resources, and we cannot make more natural resources, but to a certain extent we can modify that, we can renew it, that's all. But in most of the cases, what the human beings have done is not, they have not developed any natural resources or contributed for the management of the resources, but instead of that we have contributed to the exploitation of those resources which are available. So, but remember, these natural resources are very essential for our living. You cannot think a life without natural resources. In fact, what we eat is nothing but the natural resources. What we breathe is a natural resource. What we drink is a natural resource. So that's why these natural resources becomes very very important and pertinent. So these natural resources can be classified into two categories. One is uh, renewable resources and another one is non-renewable. Any resource you take, they fall under these two categories. They fall under these two categories. One is the renewable resource and another one is non-renewable resources. So when I talk about the renewable resources, these are the resources that can be made again by the nature or by the people in a practical amount of time. For example, if in a period of 10 years, 15 years, probably we will be able to generate these resources. Where these resources, they are natural, but if they are depleted or if you want to enhance, increase, certainly by our contribution we will be able to renew it. For example, the forest resources or wildlife, these are some of the resources where the human beings can manage them, and not only manage them, we can think of renewing it. But there is other category of the natural resources, what we call non-renewable natural resources. So these are the resources that takes too long to replace or cannot be replaced at all. So we have a limited stock, and if we exhaust the stock, there is no way or means by how we will be able to regenerate them or renew them. So such resources are called as non-renewable natural resources. For example, the metals, or it can be the fuel. These are all non-renewable natural resources. Even petroleum products. Once we lose the treasure, certainly it is the loss forever, because there is no means and way of uh, renewing it or replacing it. So here, uh, this is the one which shows you the natural resources, how they are classified. That's also another way of classifying is exhaustible natural resources and inexhaustible natural resources. Under this exhaustible natural resources, we have renewable, partly renewable, and non-renewable. Because these are the resources that will exhaust unless we take proper management practices or methods to conserve them or preserve them. So under the renewable, we have plants and animals. Under the partly renewable, which is soil and peat, they are partly renewable, not completely renewable, and whereas the mineral deposits are totally non-renewable. So all these things comes under another category, what we call exhaustible natural resources. There is also another uh, group, that is what we call inexhaustible natural resources. So these inexhaustible natural resources, they are uh, we will not be able to exhaust it. For example, the sun, wind, geothermal energy, tidal energy, wave energy. So such are the example. They are inexhaustible. Even whatever the things you do, they will be made available. Like that, there is also one more, but they are conditionally inexhaustible. In the sense, conditionally inexhaustible means they are undoubtedly inexhaustible, but certainly we will be able to change the conditions of that, or the structure, physical as well as chemical nature of them, and may and thereby make them not fit for use. So they are what we call conditionally inexhaustible. Water and air coming under this purview. Next, uh, but the most traditional way of classifying them is, yes, audible, ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಹಲೋ, ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
Yes, sir.
ಕಾಣ್ತಾ
Yes, sir.
ಇದೆಯಾ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಸ್?
Yes,
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 sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
But still then the most used method of classifying the natural resources is renewable and non-renewable, because inexhaustible natural resources we don't have any role to play. Only thing, we will alter them to a certain extent. But uh, as far as our human beings are concerned, these renewable and non-renewable natural resources, are impacted by the anthropogenic activities, that is the human activity. So here there's a list renewable and non-renewable natural resources, and you can see them also in the photograph. Now, why we are using the natural resources, whatever may be, the renewable or non-renewable. So because the all of us know that the traditional or existing system, we are encouraged towards the use of this natural resources. Either it may be extracting the ores or natural raw material, or uh, other fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, whatever the thing that you say, we are encouraged to use them. So we are skimming the cream. In that also, wherever the richest ore is there, wherever the natural materials are available at abundance, we are using them, or more appropriate term would be we are exploiting them. So if you see among the natural resources, more used earth resources are oil, coal, natural gas, and metal ores. So, and you know, all of them are non-renewable natural resources. That means once they are lost, we will not be able to replenish them. And at the same time, as a result of this, it will be a permanent loss. So now uh, we will take up uh, some of the natural resources one by one and try to understand what exactly happening to them. So here, first let us start with land and soil. What is land? So to put it in one word, any territory which is not covered by water, we call it as land. Any territory which is not covered by water, you can call it as land. So here, usually in the world, we have only uh, 1/4 of the world we have the land, because remaining 3/4 is under the water cover. So that's why it is almost it is coming under the water. This also a natural resources, but when we are concentrating or emphasizing on the land, only this 1/4 area of the world which have not been covered by water is called land. So the land is used from the by the all living beings, all terrestrial organisms use the land for one way or the other. But here we are talking about the use of the land by the human beings, because other organisms, though they are living and using the land, they are not doing any harm to them. But it is the human being over a long period of time have done much for the uh, deterioration of this land. So that's why so many factors that affects the land use. Uh, this land use pattern, if you study them, various patterns are seen in the land use. One is land is a natural resource. So uh, different aspects like climate, vegetation, soil, hydrological condition, they form, these are the forms of land use, because we may be using that for forest formation, or we may be taking the soil, or we may be affecting the surface water or groundwater in the soil. So these are the natural resources. Then human resources also contribute in the land use, especially for our habitation, uh, and their uh, uh, for various ownership rights, age structure, different education for various purposes. Then land is also considered as a capital resource, because all of you want to have a site or a land. Investment of funds from starting action on the land use for construction, for making sites, for various reasons. And then land is also used for our infrastructure, either maybe making roads, communication, road lines, railway lines, technical infrastructure, industries. So land use pattern is very different, and it depends on or varies from place to place. So here the especially if you see the important types of land use in our country are usually forest area, or there are certain land which are not available for cultivation, available for cultivation for different reason. May not be the land may not be fit for cultivation, or even it may be waterlogged, or it may be a desert. So that's why these are, though there are land which is not fit for cultivation, then there are cultivable wastelands. Uh, that means area is fit for cultivation, but it has become a fallow land, or sorry, the wasteland. Maybe because of pollution or pollutants, or by for different means. Then fallow lands, nothing is grown there. Though you will be able to grow something, but uh, it has been left fallow. Then that area that is sown means agriculture land. So these are the important land use type patterns. Forest, land not available for cultivation, even cultivable but wasteland, then fallow land, and the agriculture land. This is the important type of land use in the country. So this is the pie chart which gives you the area for cultivation. That is, the maximum is forest, uh, then barren and uncultivable wastelands. See, you can see. Then area under non-agriculture, then permanent pastures and grazing lands, and area under miscellaneous tree crops, groves, all those things. So there is a change. The land use pattern will not remain as it is. Probably the first picture shows you the land use pattern in 1960 and 61, and the next photograph shows you the land use pattern in 2008 and 2009. So how it has changed over a period of time. The forest cover has almost remained same, but the change is in the barren and uncultivable land, and the it has reduced. uh, Area under tree crops, grows have also increased, decreased. Such things will happen. It is on a land use pattern of the global land use pattern. It may vary, change from state to state. Now, okay, when we are using the land and we are, this is the different types of land use pattern. Now, the question is, what is the problem? But unfortunately, over the years, what happens because of the human intervention and the greed for over exploitation of the land, land degradation has started. What do you mean by land degradation? The land losing its virginity, or land losing its importance, or it is losing its fertility, its soil structure, soil composition, nutrient composition. Various things happens as a result of that. What we call the land degradation has happened because of multiple factors. Some of them may be natural factors like drought, flood, and other things which are beyond the control of the human being. But uh, apart from that, if you look into this, the human activities are more uh, contributed towards the degradation, especially because of the pollution. We have degraded the quality of the soil, and land utility pattern has negatively affected the food production. What has happened, to give an example, I must have told you in the last class, I have taken the example of Punjab, where in the first Green Revolution, um, what we did was we have used extensive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and as a result, nowadays that land has, many of these cultivable land has become degraded, and it has ultimately affected our food production and even livelihood also. Then uh, not only that, it has also affected the ecosystems, goods and services also. So Uh, it's not wrong if I say from 20th century, the land degradation speed or the rate at which the land is being degraded has accelerated because due to the increasing and combined pressure of agriculture as well as livestock production. So what has happened? Oh, we are all wants to produce more and more. Uh, there is no crop rotation, or we are not replenishing what we get from the land. Instead of that, over cultivation has taken place. Then overgrazing by the cattle. Then forest conversion. Many of the forests have been converted into the agriculture land, which all of you know. That by that also the land has degraded. Then urbanization. All of you know how fast our urban centers are growing. At what cost? It is at the cost of the land that is available. So, urbanization, deforestation, sometimes there may be natural things like weather events such as drought, or in some of the coastal areas, um, coastal surges where the seawater, inundation of the seawater, what we call the coastal surges, where the land in the land, the saline water comes, and as a result, we will not be able to uh, use that land. Especially, when there's a tsunami and other things, when the large amount of this ocean water enters the land and uh, soil becomes saline, so we will not be able to cultivate anything. And following that, desertification. The desertification is also a form of land degradation where the fertility of the soil is lost and soil becomes desert or the land becomes desert. What is desert? A sterile land where which cannot be grown anything, and of course other parameters are there, that is reduced amount of rain and all those things. But because of this, the what's happening is degradation. Desertification is also one form of um, now. What is the impact of all these things? So ultimately what is happening is the effect is on social and environmental process. World's arable lands, pastures which are very essential, which provide food and fodder, and which is necessary for providing water and quality of air, uh, all those things are affected. It's a complex pathway. Some places deserts have expanded, food production has reduced, water dries up, especially the deforestation, because forest is nothing. Many times we think that forest is nothing but the area where we can see trees and other things. But more importantly, forest is the source of water. All our river systems, they originate in the forest. No river originates in the urban sea, the urban area. So if the forest is lost, means we will lose the water bodies also. See, or the rivers will not flow. So it has affected this one, and uh, potential impact on desertification and even health. As a result, what may happen is malnutrition because we are unable to grow enough quality food, reduced water supply. As a result, uh, even land is being polluted. As a result, we will get more water and foodborne diseases, lack of clean water, respiratory diseases, because of the dust from the wind and air pollutants, and infectious diseases may spread. All those things are the social and uh, economical concern. So that's why, and all of you should remember the land on which we have see the soil. Uh, Soil has been formed on this land over a long period of time, and the soil formation, which is also known as pedology, is a very gradual and very complex process which takes millions of years. So when I say soil, soil is commonly understood that the uppermost layer of the earth's crust, uppermost layer of the earth crust, uh, what we call soil. It has been formed by mineral particles, organic substances, water, air, and the microbes and other living organisms in that. So uh, the fertility of the soil is another important factor, because depending upon the fertility and the type and structure of the soil, the land use pattern is decided, because there are different types of soil, and we know different types of crops are grown in different soil types. So soil properties determine the suitability for either agriculture or even cattle breeding, forestry, or for even for building, or for construction work, roads, everything. It has been decided by the quality of the soil and the type of the soil. So the it can any change in the soil will affect the livelihood of the human being. In the soil also, most important one is the topsoil, the uppermost 1 feet or 1.5 feet depth soil from the surface. It is known as topsoil. This topsoil is very important for the both plants, animals, and including the human being, even for agriculture, because the topsoil is a very rich in nutrients, and if you because it contains lot of organic and inorganic material, and it has been formed from millions of years because of these microbes, living organisms, minerals, and sun rays directly fall on this. As a result, lot of biochemical as well as chemical reaction takes place, and uh, made this topsoil a nutrient rich. So if you remove the topsoil from the surface, the soil below that is almost sterile. You will not be able to grow anything. So approximately, but in every country, the soil degradation has become the major problem. What is soil degradation? One is altering the chemistry of the soil, or the loss of topsoil by soil erosion, or change in the structure of the soil. So these are the and physical nature of the soil. So these are the four important parameters which decide the quality of the soil. That is the soil structure, physical characteristic of the soil, chemical characteristic of the soil, and then the biological characteristics. So, but unfortunately, approximately in Europe only, 12% of Europe's total land territory has been eroded. The soil erosion. Soil erosion refers to the loss of topsoil, which is very rich in nutrients, humus, and everything. Uh, as a result, what has happened is, whatever the soil we have will be poor in nutrients. I have given the example of Europe, because Indian examples are not available. Land territory every year 42 million hectares are eroded by wind or water, and or many of the areas are potentially uh, polluted also. So this soil degradation process, the at present, it is exceeding 1.9 billion hectares. Uh, but the largest area of degraded land we have in Asia, which is about 748 million hectares. Africa it is less, 4.95 million hectares. Latin America 3.5 million hectares. But the largest area of degraded land we have in Asia. The And among these land use resources, nearly 40% of the land is currently used for agriculture. And when you use the land for agriculture continuously, they suffer various degrees of degradation and pose more potential problem for the future generation. One of the most important uh, this thing, the degradation, is caused by deforestation, overgrazing, or inadequate management of the land, growth of human population. Indirect effects are overpopulation, land ownership, poverty. All of them make us to exploit more and more. So even another form of land degradation is desertification. That the loss of natural vegetation. The loss of natural vegetation turns the land into a desert, a sterile, where soil fertility is lost, and uh, followed by that the soil erosion will be there. Here I have given you the first photograph, how the desertification, and the next one, how the soil is eroded by the water. So these are the two important factors for the soil degradation. Many times the soil is naturally removed by the action of water or wind. Uh, and of course, this has been happening over millions of years. Uh, but uh, erosion remove the soil, and almost at the same pace it has been replenished. But with the start of the 20th century, or I should say that it is the herald of the industrial revolution, accelerated the soil erosion. And it has, and soil erosion is the more recent problem, because it is happening because of various human activities, either by overgrazing. What happens, the soil is intact provided if there is some plants, because the root system of the plants can withhold the uh, soil and prevent from soil erosion. But when we cut the trees, or when the cattle overgraze, uh, or when we carry out some unsustainable cultivation practices, uh, what has happened, the soil erosion has accelerated by water as well as by wind also. And as a result, the soil erosion has become one of the major environmental problem. And more recently, uh, the use of powerful agricultural implements led to the damaging um, tillage erosion by plowing and all those things. So this is the photograph, how the soil degradation is taking place. The one which is seen in the red mark, this is poorly, very highly degraded soil. See the India, where you can see the most of the India is uh, eroded, the red mark, and in every country you
Ang
can see.
call ako, kunin mo lang.
And
Nama.
degraded
Nama.
soil, then stable soil.
Nama no. Ada.
Yes,
Gather to
yes.
makriminta.
What's going
The
on there? I
join
have
room.
asked you to mute your microphone.
One lift ko ne so partan sukelle. Uddo
Who is
hindutte.
talking there?
So paudu.
ಯಾರಪ್ಪ
So
ಅದು
pan.
ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ? ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಫೋನ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಾ? So this photograph will give you the information of how the soil degradation and the rate at which the soil has been degraded. It will give you a clear picture. Even the loss of soil usually means loss of topsoil, as I have told you, because the topsoil is the one which contains the maximum contains most of the organic nutrients and has most desirable soil structure. But once we lose this topsoil, uh, then we will not be able to reclaim it. Annual loss is as high as 3,000 metric tons per hectare per year. Per hectare per year, which means that uh, yes, can you hear and see? Hello. ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಹಲೋ, ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ or any problem? ಹಲೋ, ಏನಾಯ್ತು? What's happening? What is happening? All of a sudden. Hello, hello.